Welcome back, everybody, to the Big Book Roundtable of the RICO 12 Family of Recovery Resources. I'm once again gathered around this table with David G. and Nikki M. I just have so much fun during these recording sessions. I learn so much. I gain so many insights, and I hope you out there in the listening audience also gain from the combined experience, strength, and hope of the three of us who are striving to live the miracle of recovery one day at a time. And that's where I'm at in my life. I'm Justin B. I am a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and a multidisciplinary addict. Like I said, living in one day at a time, miraculous recovery. All right, let's jump in and have David and Nikki introduce themselves. David, why don't you lead us off today and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Justin, for your service. Thank you, Nikki, as well. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts, living in Oklahoma in the USA, given the gift of recovery on August 8th of 1994. Super grateful to be here with my people today. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Nikki, you're up.
Hi, I'm Nikki M, and I'm just so grateful to be at the table with, yes, my brothers. And I want to thank in advance everyone who does give a seventh. I just want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast because it's helping many people, mainly me. I need this the most. So thank you, everybody. I'm just so grateful to have a big book and a seat at this table.
Yeah, and I think we're actually going to be talking about that, how when we're working with somebody else, it may be helping us more than others as we read the next couple of paragraphs here today. We're picking up as where we left off on in chapter 7, working with others. We're on page 94. We'll start there towards the top, the paragraph starting with outline the program of action, and we're just going to read through the bottom of the page 94. And as we do so, follow along in your big book, highlight, underline, make notes, lines out, as Nikki calls them. My line out says, put a line out in there that helps you as you are going through this book, and as you're taking, more importantly, as you're taking others through this book, as you sponsor them when you have that spiritual experience yourself. All right, let's jump into reading, and then we'll go into our conversation here. Outline the program of action, explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your past, and why you are now endeavoring to be helpful to him. It is important for him to realize that your attempt to pass this on to him plays a vital part in your own recovery. Actually, he may be helping you more than you are helping him. Make it plain that he is under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his own difficulties. Suggest how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. Make it clear that he is not under pressure, that he needn't see you again if he doesn't want to. You should not be offended if he wants to call it off, for he has helped you more than you have helped him. If your talk has been sane, quiet, and full of human understanding, you may have perhaps made a friend. Maybe you have disturbed him about the question of alcoholism. This is all to the good. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He will be more likely to follow your suggestions. Your candidate may give reasons why he need not follow all of the program. He may rebel at the thought of a drastic house cleaning which requires discussion with other people. Do not contradict such views. Tell him you once felt as he does, but you doubt whether you would have made much progress had you not taken action. On your first visit, tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. If he shows interest, lend him your copy of this book. All right, let's jump into this. David, why don't you take us through these paragraphs as you understand them and share your experience, strength, and hope?
Well, man, this is a very power-packed couple of paragraphs here in our book. I mean, this is just so important whenever we're trying to help the new man and we're on our first visit. Remember, I'm up to the point now that I've done the interview process with him. We've talked about certain things. I've kind of got him in a better mood to where he's open to talk. Now I'm going to outline the program of action, and that is going to be steps 4 through 12. Now I'm going to tell him how I made a self-appraisal, and I did that in steps 4 through 7. I'm going to tell him how I've straightened out my past, and I'm going to tell him how I did that in steps 8 and 9. And why now I'm endeavoring to be helpful to him. That's our 12th step. Now, it's going to be important for him to realize that The reason I'm doing this is because it's an attempt to pass on this vital part. It's a vital part of my own recovery. Remember back on Roman numeral 20, what is that, 2, or in the doctor's opinion, it talked about, one alcoholic working with another was vital to permanent recovery. And so, he may have helped me more than I've helped him, because he's damn sure showed me where I don't want to be anymore, if anything else. And so, but, I do want to make it plain that he doesn't, that he's under no obligation to me at all. You're not obligated to me in any way. I tell my guys, hey, man, if you don't want to do this work, let's just shake hands and call it good right here. Let's continue to be friends. I'll direct you to some really good meetings that you can get into. There's some people there. I'll give you your names. Pay attention when they're talking, but you're not obligated to me to do anything here. So, but I do hope that you'll try to help others. And look at this: when, not if, when he escapes his own difficulties. What a beautiful promise in that paragraph right there. Suggests how important it is that he placed the welfare of others ahead of his own. That's day one. I hear people say that shit all the time. Let us love you until you can love. I can promise, me loving me has never been the issue here. I damn sure love me a whole lot more than I do anyone else. This is about constant thought of others. If you remember page 20 of our book, and that's exactly what it says, that our constant thought must always be upon others. And so, yeah, our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depend upon our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs. Hell, that's in step 1 of the book. So we're telling you way back there. I mean, you got to get out of self here, now, not after a while, not after we get through step 4 or 5. I want to suggest how important that is on day 1. Make it clear he's under no pressure, because if he's under pressure, if you're like me, you're going to do many things, many crazy things. You don't have to see me no more if you don't want to. It doesn't matter. He should not be offended if he wants to call it off. I had an old timer. I was going to go through this work again. About a year or so ago, I decided, I want to go through the book and have a new experience. It had been a little while since I'd done that. And so we met and we talked, and I enjoyed what he had to say. But as we began to do some of the work, I didn't like the way the direction of it was going. And so I just got a hold of him and I said, hey, I'm not going to continue on. I'm going to find somebody else to do it with. And he became very offended with this. And, I pointed him back to this book, hell, you shouldn't be offended if someone wants to call it off. I've probably helped you more than you could have helped me. But our talk was not sane, quiet, and full of human understanding. We've since made amends and hugged and made up and all that stuff. It's not a big deal anymore, but it was at that time. He's my friend. He was my friend then. He's my friend now. We just had to get over that, being butthurt about, not being able to take me through the book with it. So, but if I'm with a new guy, here's the promise that I may have disturbed him about the question of alcoholism. And our book says this is all good, because that gift of desperation is the best thing that we can have. The more hopeless he feels, the better. That's when they're going to be more likely to follow the suggestions outlined in the book. And I love this. He may give reasons why he need not follow all the program. I've taken guys to step 3. I can't do step 4, David. Why? Well, I just can't. My mind won't let me do. Well, you're not ready then. You ain't had your ass kicked enough. You need to go back and get some more, or you need to find somebody else, one of the two. But if you're going to work through this process with me, we're going to do it the way the book says to do it. And cleaning the house is a big part of that. He may rebel at look at this key word, the thought. We know where that comes from, right? Why would I rebel with the thought of a drastic house cleaning, which is step 4, which requires discussion with other people? That's step 5. Do not contradict such views. Tell him you once felt as he does, but you doubt whether you've made much progress had you not taken action in steps 4 through 9. On your first visit, tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous and lend him your copy of the book. Now, I've got many books, and I'm willing to lend a copy of it, but the one that I work from and live by, that one's not for lend. I'll buy a book. I'll give you a book. I'll give you 10 books. But you ain't getting my book. So that's one direction I don't follow in the Big Book there. So anyway, that's my take, Justin. Thank you.
Love it, David. Hey, you're selfish with that book, but I know that book's super special. Good. Nikki, what's your take as we go through those couple of paragraphs?
The same thing as David G, and I'm glad he said it first. No one is going to touch my big book. First of all, it's falling apart. I think I'm the only one who can decipher it. But no, I actually have a case in my house of big books. You want one? I'll give you one. And covers. My sponsor makes them. So outline the program, everybody. This is a program. Now, David, Justin, and myself were all the same age. And I don't know if you guys remember when you'd have to go like out of your classroom and they would bring the trailer where they'd have like an Apple computer. Remember way back when, and you'd leave and you'd go on and they'd teach you about the computers. My program doesn't work anymore. The program in me does not work. What is a program? It's a set of related measures or activities with a particular long-term aim. It's instructions to control the operation of a machine. That's me, Nikki. So I need a new program, and it's action. It's a recipe. If you leave out a step, you're not going to get the perfect chocolate cake. Explaining how. I need to do that one-on-one. I need to do it one-on-one. I can't do it in a group setting. I've got to explain how one-on-one, and exactly what David said. It's the 12 steps: straighten out the past, self-appraisal 4 and 5, and why I want to be helpful. You're my God dope. See, sponsee, I need you. When I'm with you, I'm not thinking about me. And it's important for them to realize. So when my sponsee says, thank you, Nikki, I said, remember when we read that? So instead, can you say, you're welcome, Nikki? Because you play a vital part in my recovery. You're helping me more than I'm helping you. You've gotten me out of myself. I've calmed down. I've read the instructions. It doesn't say anywhere on here, tell your neighbors to F off and lose your mind. So now I'm back in the instructions and remembering what's expected of me. I mean, this is why I don't work the steps over and over. I just sponsor and I'm always in the steps. And then it says, make it plain. You're under no obligation. My line out says, no preaching. Don't be a spiritual nuisance. And for you ladies, don't be a nag. Okay? They're under no obligation. I only hope that they will help other addicts. Now, I have a workbook you know about, Justin and David. I've talked to you about it too. It's the Big Book sponsorship. The very first sentence says, you are going to be a sponsor. And so they know straight off the bat, if you're not going to sponsor and be part of my multi-level marketing for God, I can't take you through, sir. There's someone else who can take you through. I'm very serious. If you're not sponsoring, I can't help you. So they're armed with the facts right away because they will escape their difficulties. I'm going to suggest how important it is they place the welfare of other people ahead of your own. You're a servant. I'm sorry to tell you that on your first day in the program. You're a servant. Better you hear it from me now. Make it clear, under no pressure. Hey, everybody, do this with your kids. Like me with my son. Son, you're under no pressure. Let me know how that works out for you because I'm in my hot tub, I'm retired, and I don't care. I'm not coming to bail you out of jail. Okay, so you better have some bail money or a good friend. If my talk has been sane, quiet, I'm never quiet. Everyone's like, Nikki, you're yelling. I'm like, I'm passionate and you're going to drop dead. And full of human understanding. I understand where you're coming from. I have my mom living in my house because of the disease of alcoholism. I was going to kill myself, kill my lover. And I always make a friend. I usually make a friend because people are like, you too? You want to kill someone too, Nikki? And I'm like, yeah, I do that too. And then we laugh and it's a good time. And I have disturbed people on the question of alcoholism because I'm like, sorry, madam, you're just not drinking. You know, do women of God sleep with other people's husbands? Do women of God sleep with men who don't intend to marry you? Do women of God put their kids at the babysitter so you can go and get what? You know, I just lay it out. People like my real talk. Real talk, real talk. Anyway, I love this. Everybody, please, drum roll. This is for your kids, for my grandpas here, for your grandkids when they get older. And it says right here, the more hopeless the human race feels, the better. I want my sponsee desperate. I want my son desperate. I wanted my daughter desperate when she started in her food addiction, because she will be more likely to follow my suggestions, and she does now. My daughter followed, I didn't sponsor her. She was so desperate, she followed it. My son's not there yet. He's 20 years old. He knows everything. I want you desperate. And I love this. Your candidate may give reasons why they may not follow all of the program. Now, they may not sponsor. So right away, I love that. You're going to be a sponsor or I'm not working with you. So they've already armed with that facts, but they may not want to follow all of the program. I want to go deep here for a second. You don't want to turn all things over to the Father of light that presides. You want to stay sober off your alcohol. You don't want to smoke at the trap house anymore, but you want to cheat on your taxes. You want to sleep with the secretary. Like, it goes deep. This is radical stuff. So I like to talk about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous because I have my own fellowship, Noodle Nikki. I have another fellowship, Rico 12. I have another fellowship, Big Book Sponsorship. So I'm crazy for recovery. And again, you're not getting a copy of my own book, but I will give you a free one of a brand new big book. Okay? I love you guys. Thank you. I'm glad to know David's like me and won't lend it out. I don't feel so.
Love it. Thank you, Nikki. I've got questions for each of you. David, and this isn't necessarily based exactly on what we read here, but it's something you said, and I just want to dive into that. It was, hey, let us love you until you love yourself. And you're like, nah, man, I love myself more than anything. That's not my problem. Talk to me a little bit more than that, because, you know, a lot of people I talk to will say, man, I just hate myself. Self-loathing is something that really is deep there. But talk to us about the self and how this interacts and what that means, because selfishness, self-centeredness, that is the root of our problem. So tell us your thoughts.
Absolutely right. But it also says I'm driven by a lot of things. And so, you know, there's no doubt that all the destruction that I did for me. That's a form of love. So you can say you hate yourself all day long, but, you know, you may hate your actions. But, you know, I mean, when I say love myself, then I should be looking at, what is that, 150 or 152 in the book, and finding himself, he found God. I should be focused there. You know, the self that I'm talking about, it tells me that I'm the greatest thing that ever lived, that I need to hurry up and get what I can get for me, you know, and I love that way of life, or I wouldn't continue to participate in it over and over and over for decades and decades and decades. So you can tell me you hate yourself all you want, but if you're doing that kind of shit, then it's not because you hate yourself, it's because you love yourself. And so don't tell me, let me love you until you can love you, because me loving me has always been my problem. And a lot of people don't agree with that. And I don't care. It doesn't matter. This is my experience. And I know that my book that says selfish and self-centeredness, that's the root of the trouble. That's the root. And, you know, so, you know, self-love comes with constructive action through these 12 steps. And if you've not been through these 12 steps as outlined in the big book and had a spiritual experience, then you're not truly loving or hating yourself, either one. You're just kind of existing along. So at least that's my experience with it anyway. So thanks for that question.
You got it. And thank you for going through that. And I want to find where that is. David, if you wouldn't mind looking to find exactly where that is, the 150, 152, where you're talking about that. I'd love to get back to that after we talk to Nikki here.
Page 158.
158. Perfect. But we'll come back to that here in a minute. Nikki, what I want you to dive into here is this all-in principle. You know, this, I hear people in the room sometimes say, you know, take what you like and leave the rest. But what we've read here is all about, no, let's follow all the program. What's your experience with that attitude of take what you like, leave the rest?
That the message has gotten watered down. It's just telephone now. Like, it's like if the three of us were sitting here in 1940, I mean, it's 2025. The message that the three of us had back then is going to be way different now. So the message has been completely watered down. I've been told, Nikki, you're going to scare the newcomer. Good. My mom lives with me because grandpa took a pistol and blew his head off in front of her. Good. Someone needs to be scared. We're losing people in the room, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. It says turn all things. Now, it's a broad highway. Alcohol and drugs must go. But what about for someone like us, Justin, where that's not a thing? Then whatever is the one that's killing me first, it was one guy. It wasn't all men. I had to let go one guy because there was no other guy for me. I was gonna kill him. Like it was bad. And I had to let that one, let's say, drug of non-choice go. Then after that came the men. Then after the men came the money. Then after the money, the sugar. Then it gets to be a very narrow highway. I really only have some smoking, scrolling, and swearing left. And then I'd be a saint. And I'm not willing to give those up right now. They're not killing me. They're not killing anyone else. So you understand what I'm saying. This is really radical. A lot of people, I wish that, I wish it was an elite force like the Navy SEAL, like I think David said he was a Marine. Like, we got to get back to that because too many people, the success rates in 2025 are awful. They're awful. And I don't want to be an accomplice to any of that. So I run a real tight program and I'm not going to apologize. That's what I love about the three of us. We're all our authentic self. David's his authentic self. Justin, you're your authentic self. And me, I can't put this crazy back in the box.
And I love that we're each our authentic self in such different ways, and yet we just gel right here, and it's really cool. David, why don't you take us to that page where you said, "When I find myself, I find God," or whatever that is.
Yeah, and as Nikki said, that's on page 158. In fact, it's talking about the devil may care chap, and it's pretty powerful because that's exactly what it is. We go through this process. The only thing that changed for me was thoughts, ideas, concepts, emotions. I didn't find God. He wasn't some big figure standing in the sky. He wasn't some elderly gentleman up there with a ruler and a long beard and shit. No, what changed, the consciousness on the inside of me changed. And as a result of that changing, my world changed. And that's what this is offering. In finding God, which is within yourself, the master teacher is what I call Jesus. He said it this way: seek ye first the kingdom, talking about this higher consciousness, this greater awareness, this spiritual experience. Seek that first. And I promise you, all this other shit will be added to you. You're not worthless. You're not a piece of shit. You're not any of that stuff. You are a child of a loving God. You have power. I mean, yeah, it might not seem that way if you're not tapped into it, but I promise you, if you look at page 58, what's that second full paragraph there? It said on the third day, the lawyer gave his life and care over to the direction of his creator. That's step 3. He was perfectly willing to do anything necessary. So that tells me he's willing to go through the rest of the process. Anything, he says. So his wife came. She was scared, thought that she saw something different already. He had begun to have this experience, this higher consciousness, as Jesus called it, the kingdom. That afternoon, he put on his clothes, walked a free man. Damn, what a promise here. There I was, bonded in chains. I was in jail in my own mind for years. Hell, I was there physically. And then when I got out, I was there in my mind and my thoughts for the rest. But anyway, if you read on down toward the bottom of that, he ran a race there, on a political deal. He lost it by only a narrow margin. But here was the deal. And he found God. And in finding God, he had found himself. And so that tells me he was probably honest in that political race. That probably tells me that he had some humility in that race. He didn't have a resentment as a result of losing that race. He didn't get in a whole lot of fear about any of that. That's what finding God for me is. It's finding that inner peace, that inner strength that nothing can overcome, no matter how damaging the winds and the tornadoes in Oklahoma gets. You know what? I know I'm okay. It doesn't make a shit if it blows the house away. It's okay. I hope it don't, but it's okay if it does. So, that's that finding that inner peace, that consciousness, that spiritual awareness, that spiritual experience. That's God. or at least it is to me. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to close this out here with just some, the line from the Big Book. May you find God now. And when you do, realize that you're finding yourself. And that's where that peace comes that David was just talking about. That serenity is when I find my true self, the self that was created to be who I am, not the self that voice in my head that says you suck, you're awful, you're garbage, you just may as well give up. That's not God. Find God, find yourself, and then practice these principles in all your affairs and help others find God and find themselves. Keep coming back, guys. Dive into this work, not just into this book, into this work. Put it into practice in your life, and promises, miracles, and amazing things will happen. Work it. You are worth it.